Hello, good evening, and welcome back to my channel. So this evening we're going to be continuing with the idea of censorship, and this is with Facebook and Facebook subsidiaries, including Instagram. So from the BBC, Facebook bans dangerous individuals. And look at these beautiful people. And Farrakhan. So, Facebook's banning several prominent figures it regards as dangerous individuals. And the point relating to Tom Robinson will come soon, I promise you, as I've seen that that's been getting the most traffic, and I will continue to report on him every single day up until the elections on the 23rd of May. The social network accused Alex Jones, host of right-wing conspiracy website InfoWars. I mean, let's ignore that he was right about something. Somebody says, "They're turning the freaking frogs gay." Well, yes, that's because of the chemicals in the water, which changes the sexual hormones of the frogs, which seems to... Sorry, it's just really ridiculous. But yeah, it changes the reproductive hormones of the frogs to make them male, so it seems as if they're gay. So he's basically correct. I mean, obviously he's using hyperbole, exaggeration for effect in order to get his point across, and considering that you've probably heard they're turning the freaking frogs gay before, then it clearly works. Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam leader who has expressed anti-Semitic views. Well, actually, if you listen to him, he says, "I'm not anti-Semite, I'm anti-termite." Yeah, okay. Will also be excluded. Facebook has already banned anti-Islamic UK groups like Britain First. Anti-Islamic, well, I mean, obviously I'm not for multiculturalism. I'm for monoculturalism, because if you go to a country, then surely you want that culture. I really like Japan. I've been to Japan twice already, and I would like to go every single year. I might even live out there if I can, because I really like the Japanese culture. I'm fine living there. Yeah, it's 98.5% Japanese, and I'm fine with that. I don't care about your skin colour. I really don't. I care about culture, and I really like the Japanese culture. In fact, I find I fit in more over there than I do over here. But then again, England isn't very English anymore, is it? No. Okay. The latest ban also applies on Instagram, which Facebook owns. Yes, the subsidiary company like WhatsApp. "We've always banned individuals or organisations that promote or engage in violence and hate." Bullshit, regardless of ideology. Complete bullshit. How do you define hate? Hate has to be defined according to your ideology. It's like Twitter saying, "Oh yes, well, we don't like dead naming." Well, then that's according to your ideology, isn't it? It's anti-conservative. Just because you think you're correct doesn't mean you're correct. And just because you have an opinion, it doesn't mean that it is fact. Dogma is not a reliable and coherent ideology within itself, okay? Dogma, I am God. It's a palindrome, but it's also true. So that is clearly bullshit. And we say you've always banned individuals. Well, no. Not of the Antifa, as our beloved Carl Benjamin Sargent McCall mentioned. There's Antifa Swindon, which is where he's from, which still hasn't been banned. So, no, it isn't regardless of ideology, is it? It's just when maybe somebody on the left comes up and you can't deny that they're calling for violence and is being mentioned far too much, that you go, okay, fine, we'll have to ban them. And that's where Louis Farrakhan comes in, isn't it? The banned group also includes Paul Nehlen, a white supremacist. I don't know Paul Nehlen, a white supremacist, and he might well be. But unfortunately, considering the BBC, broken, biased and corrupt, has such a poor reputation, and anybody with a television in the United Kingdom has to pay for it, the licence fee, it is essentially a tax, which is bullshit, but unfortunately is true. I don't believe you. So maybe Paul Nehlen is a white supremacist. Maybe he's an evil person, but considering your reputation is awful and is worth nothing these days, I don't care. And Lola Luma, an anti-Islamic activist, well, good for her. Considering if you read the Quran and the Hadith, and considering the way the Quran is written, I forget what the particular name is, but in chronological order, it means that the latest parts in the Quran outweigh the beginning bits. So at the end he says, Oh, is there anything else you would like to say, Muhammad? Yes, there is. How about you kill the Jews, the Christians, and the atheists? They're all infidels. Strike them at the neck where you find them, to quote the Quran. Well, that pretty much means beheadings, which might explain why we see so many beheadings from ISIS, mightn't it? And even Muslim on Muslim violence is ridiculous. Because you get the Sunni disagreeing with the Shia, disagreeing with the Wahhabis. In fact, I live in Manchester, and almost every single day, because I go outside every single day, I think it's good for my health, and vitamin D3, the sun vitamin, is good for you, obviously, and I see that there, and they're against Islamic extremists and terrorism, and good for them. I do sincerely, completely support them. But if I were to say, hey, I know of a guy who's also against Islamic extremism, and he goes through the Quran and finds points which Muslims might decide, oh yeah, let's follow them, let's be fundamentalists, let's take it completely at face value and follow it, and here's what it says. Oh, it seems to espouse terrorism. If he's a guy who says, well, here's what they're understanding, and this explains why there are so many Islamic terror attacks, we should do something about it. If I were to say, hey, there's this guy who's also fighting against Islamic terrorism, isn't that good? They'll probably say, yeah, that's a good idea. And I'd say, well, he's written a couple of books about it, and people like to come up to him and ask him to sign their books. Isn't that good? And go, oh, yeah, of course. So what's his name? Say, oh, his name's Tommy Robinson. I've got a load of leaflets in my bag. Would you like one? I say, oh, no, we don't want anything to do with him. I say, oh, well, why not? And of course they'll be saying, oh, well, he's clearly racist. It's like, can you name me any racist thing he said? Oh, no. Well, how about I tell you why he left the BNP? Because they wouldn't allow his black friends. And even if you look back to his EDL days, which you're saying is very far-right and anti-Islamic, he's still pictured with his black friends because he doesn't care about race. Do you not realise that? I mean, we've clearly seen political violence already, and funnily enough, another word for political violence is terrorism. That's already happened. And it will continue to happen. I just hope, I would say I pray, but I'm non-theistic, that Tommy Robinson can actually stay alive at least until the 23rd of May. So good on you, Tommy, and keep going. So if we scroll down, and I use the BBC because they're going to try and support my opposition in the best light they can and be against me as much as they can. So it'll be an honest reading, or at least, in fact, even better than honest as far as they're concerned. It'll put their side in a good light because I want to be able to tackle their arguments at their strongest. And I know people have already commented about The Guardian especially, and also The Sun partially, to say, well, just ignore them, they'll be silenced. It's like, well, I want to say what they have to say and expose it to other people and show where their flaws are in order to try and prevent them from spreading any more of this crap. I mean, yeah, I know they're funded by the Saudis. Yeah, I know. Same as Twitter. So, as Marty Yiannopoulos said, Islam, it hates women. It just hates them. Thank you, Mike. Dr. Hunter began. But clearly, as they're keeping Anita Sarkeesian on and had her at the UN, that why is Islam so fond of feminism, specifically third wave feminism? And I know this isn't a popular view, but personally, I don't care. I know these are only my opinions, but I maintain that they're based in fact. And maybe you don't want to think about these things, but maybe do. I mean, one of the Weatherspoons in here, I like Weatherspoons. I mean, obviously they're cheap, and I used to work at one of them. But if you go to one of them in Manchester, they have a photo of a terrorist. You might be thinking, oh, who's that terrorist? Well, it's Emmeline Pankhurst. You might be saying, well, wasn't she someone who got the rights for women? The right to vote? She was a suffragette? Yeah, but she said deeds, not words. Okay, well, that makes sense. Actions speak louder than words, or a picture paints 1,000 words. Yeah, sure. Except when they're blowing up cricket clubs and committing arson and trying to kill people who disagree with them. They're terrorists, and they're domestic terrorists, and they're the only ones we've given in on. And now that there's been a statue erected in the main square of Manchester of this terrorist, is that not going to call it terrorist? No, of course not. And I could do what all the journalists say and say, oh, okay, Manchester, or Manchester Council, which is of course run by Labour, great, to say, hey, I see you've erected a statue of a terrorist. Does that mean that you support violence against your political enemies? And they say, oh, well, no, of course not. And I say, oh, well, then why is Emmeline Pankhurst there? And of course they'd laugh at me and silence me. In fact, I've reached out to the Women's Equality Party, Sam Johnson, I believe her name is, for my district. No response, of course not. Because I've been saying, well, how do you feel about these particular issues, which you say are affecting women? That's bullshit. I mean, if any of them are true about affecting women, then they affect men twice as much, if not more. And most of them aren't true, like gender pay gap. You can look at Sean Head and her lovely buzzer to debunk that straight away. But yeah, also recently on May the 1st, the Samaritans in Greater Manchester have launched their Shining a Light on Suicide campaign, which is good. It is the main killer for men between 18 and 34, and the main killer for women aged under... between women 18 and 34 and men under 45, and men commit suicide 4 times as much as women. But of course, the mayor isn't going to say anything at all about that mainly affecting men. I mean, yeah, sure, women attempt to commit suicide more often, and you might say, oh, well, women aren't as capable as men, therefore they can't carry it out. Or you might say, well, maybe they're just trying to draw attention to themselves. Whatever it might be, but I don't think well, obviously it's controversial, but I don't think it should be controversial to say with the breakdown of the family structure that of course there are going to be more suicidal tendencies if people don't find meaning in their lives, and the majority of people finding meaning in their lives is from social interactions, primarily families. Okay, we got a topic, but it's bloody important. If the main killer is suicide, that's ridiculous. Yeah, sure, 98% of workplace mentalities are male as well, so the fact that they still outnumber females 4-1, it's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? Oh, that's okay, because these women will still be having sex, either with the older, successful men, because of feminism saying, oh, where have all the good men gone? Well, it's because of quotas, isn't it? You muppets. And then, those women will still be having sex because of Muslim rape gangs. And as we've seen before, they say, oh yeah, but most of these are men. It's like, no, it isn't. I mean, if you're talking about paedophiles, yeah, sure, but England is still a white majority country. Thank God, yeah. And trying to look into these statistics is bloody difficult, because they say, oh, well, Asians are causing this amount of crime. It's like, okay, what do you mean by Asian, considering another of your groups is Chinese or other? What the fuck does that mean? What do you mean by Asian? Do you mean Middle Eastern? Are you just trying to conflate it so you don't have to admit the problem? And obviously, I'm not saying it from ethnic divisions. My point is that it's ideologically driven. It's Islamic. And when you import people from mainly Islamic countries, that are like 98% Muslim and Islamic and fundamentalist Islam Muslims at that rate, that of course you're going to encourage that sort of behaviour. And that's the point of multiculturalism, is that you get slums, you get people who are varied from each other, culturally speaking, ideologically speaking, and they don't integrate, and that's the problem, which is why multiculturalism isn't going to work. It's like, yeah, sure, it might work in the world as a whole, because you have borders and boundaries, but in a particular country, no, you're not, otherwise you're going to get no-go zones. Funnily enough, that's exactly what you've got, because they're creating their own little community inside your country, they're trying to create a different country inside that country, and because police are scared to arrest these people at fear of being called Islamophobic, then, of course, that's going to happen. Anyway, moving on, but as you can see, this enrages me to no end. I was born and bred in this country. I would love to be a proud Brit, a proud Englishman, but how the fuck is that going to happen with all this importation? I mean, obviously, fucking hell. The Tories said, oh yeah, we're going to limit the immigration. You've missed that every month. In fact, it increases. You muppets. Okay, in an email, Facebook explained its rationale for banning the users. It said, Alex Jones has hosted on his programme Gavin McInnes, leader of the Proud Boys, well he used to be, whose members are known for racist, anti-Muslim and misogynistic rhetoric. No. Just because somebody says, oh, I like this particular thing, and I also like this person, it doesn't mean that that person likes that particular thing. The whole Hitler also drank water thing meme is here, isn't it? Anti-Muslim, anti-Islam, let's not conflate the two, and misogynistic rhetoric. If you're going to say, oh, women prefer to be stay-at-home mums, well, that's just true. The majority of women who have children do not go back to their role at the full-time work. That's just a fact. That's not misogynistic if it's true. Mr. McInnes has been designated a hate figure by Facebook. Oh great, so Alex Jones doesn't seem to have done anything wrong in particular, he's just hosted this gentleman. Well, he's also been on CRTV with Stephen Crowder, Blaze TV, people like Lauren Chen, who was also a roaming millennial. He's also been on Fox News. So are you going to ban all of them? No, of course not. You're just making bullshit. Facebook said this year, Marley Yiannopoulos had publicly praised both Mr. McInnes and English Defence League founder Tommy Robinson, both banned from the network. And why was Tommy Robinson banned? He was banned over bullshit snapshots from months before that he was finally banned. I say they're bullshit because they're not true. And, I mean, you know that if you look into them, but you don't even have to look into them, knowing how closely he is watched, that if he did anything wrong, there would be a spotlight on it straight away. And seeing as it hadn't been mentioned before, he hasn't done anything wrong. Law Loomer also appeared with Mr. McInnes. So you're saying the freedom of association is not a thing, even though that's in the American Constitution. Fuck you too. And Facebook said she also praised another banned figure, Faith Goldie, a Canadian. And what? Because Faith Goldie would interview the alt-right, as in self-proclaimed alt-right members. Well, why don't you air these grievances? If they're so bad, so evil, and so obviously debunked, then you wouldn't mind them being mentioned, because you say, yes, thank God, now we know who these people are, and you can decide to not do business with them if you choose. Fair enough. You don't need... Well, you don't need the law stepping in for one, and these companies are going to be guilt by association. Then you're going to have to ban fucking everyone. I mean, you've already seen the chart, and I haven't pulled it up at the moment, of where they connect basically everyone with everyone, or anyone they don't like with some people who everyone doesn't like. It's really ridiculous. I mean, Richard Spencer is obviously the main one there, but he doesn't have a big following, and he's still allowed on these platforms because he does actually espouse those views of white supremacy. But the people who don't, and actually are trying to speak truth to power, as the meme goes, like Tommy Robinson, they're banned because they're speaking truth, but you're trying to lump them in with these other people who the public don't like, in order to say, oh yes, they fraternize with the enemy, therefore they should be banned as well. I mean, instead, for some reason, yeah, you can't even work it out yourself, can you? Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan was banned for making several anti-Semitic remarks earlier this year. Yes, but as we know with the embargo, where the press, a few select members of the press were told before it actually took effect, as mentioned by Milo, I'm about to be banned, please sign up for my mailing list before this account disappears, that they were obviously got a heads up because they knew it was going to happen. It's similar to everybody banning Alex Jones, and obviously Alex Jones has been banned again, before Twitter did. That it all happened at the same time, including from the iTunes store. It's ridiculous how these people are all together, but considering they're in such close proximity in Silicon Valley, I suppose you could expect this kind of in-group clique behaviour. It's like high school all over again, isn't it? And I mean, that's probably the mental age of these people, if they even fucking got to high school. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't ridiculous already, they're saying that freedom of association is not a thing that should be the law, or at least the TOC, the terms of conditions, or TOS, terms of service in their business. And even worse than this is that they're pushing for a cryptocurrency. They've already tried Facebook credits. And this ties into my previous video about the vote to MasterCard to try and ban particular figures. And obviously it isn't to say, oh, these people are promoting violence, otherwise they would be in prison already, because so much of the public life is, documented and easily exposed. You see at any politician rally, I mean, even at concerts, for crying out loud, how many people have their phones up to video the proceedings, that if anything happened like that, obviously it would be recorded on straight away. That's just how the modern world is. But Facebook credits has been done before. Now it's being said there's going to be Facebucks, which at least has more of a ring to it. But yeah, Facebook credits, according to Wikipedia, was tried earlier until June 2012. So this was basically for its in-store purchases of things like I can't remember the name of it, but I remember Toby Turner, Tabascus, did videos on it as well, and also a shout out to him, the guy who has millions more subscribers than me. Yeah, that guy really needs a shout out. But hey, you guys might have forgotten about him, that he posted a tweet recently, which I bloody love, which is, I might go back to university for a bachelor's in virtue signalling. So yeah, that's pretty much all they're fucking good for at the moment, isn't it? I'm glad I didn't bloody go. But yes, more recently, this is from today, 4:47 p.m. So, what are we talking? 5 hours ago, on Ars Technica, Facebook. It was also recorded by Wall Street Journal and CNN, but I don't have subscriptions, and I'm not paying for them. So this is saying Facebook is considering raising as much as $1 billion for a new cryptocurrency-based payment that could compete directly with conventional credit cards, the Wall Street Journal reports. Yes, but I'm not paying for them. They've previously covered reports that Facebook-owned WhatsApp was developing a cryptocurrency product, but the company is also reportedly creating a cryptocurrency for Facebook itself. The main issue with this is that you might post something, as we've already seen, of Tommy Robinson, for example, and because of that, get a suspension for 30 days or a month, and you can get consecutive ones, and then you might get banned. And if they're using their cryptocurrency, as we've already seen that companies and stores and businesses aren't accepting cash, they're only accepting credit card, that they might say, oh, we're only accepting Facebook currency here, and you're not allowed on Facebook, therefore you can't buy here. What do you think's gonna fucking happen then? It's bad enough if the democratic process isn't followed, people are going to become violent, aren't they? Because you're saying, oh, what, so this democratic process of which I abide by, and I have disagreements with a lot of people, but at least once every 4 years I get a fucking vote, or maybe there's a referendum once in a fucking generation, that according to the Prime Minister at the time, it's a simple in-out referendum, and the result will be honoured, and we will go forward with it, and we won't have to elect more members of the European Parliament a couple of years after the fucking vote took place, if we trigger Article 52, what do you think's going to happen? If democracy doesn't work, then violence is pretty much the only option. And in this case, I'm sure you already know, that the people that you're annoying are going to be much better fighters. Also, considering it's been such a slow, a snowballing process where it keeps building up over time, these people are going to develop their own fighting skills because they're going to have to for self-defense. I mean, personally, I've done martial arts for more time than I have, and I've done it for about 14 years now. And so obviously I know how to fight because if I can have to. If I mention my grievances in public, there's a risk of me being attacked. I have a load of Tommy Robinson leaflets in my bag, and I leave them around when nobody's looking because I know I might get attacked. And that's the main thing in martial arts, is that you avoid conflict. I also have a Pepe hoodie that I like to wear around because most people don't know what Pepe means. But of course, if somebody just attacks me, then because I live in a city, I'm going to have a load of people see that I don't provoke anyone and I suddenly get attacked. Because Pepe, even if the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, calls it a hate symbol, clearly isn't. It's just a fucking frog. What's wrong with a frog? And I like Pepe. And I even like Honkler. In fact, Honkler the Clown, the YouTube channel, which has released a load of different episodes of Clown World, is bloody brilliant, and I love it. In fact, if I get some editing software, I'll probably use that as an intro and outro of the Honkler Clown World meme. And finally, to wrap this up, in terms of censorship and people who can't take a fucking joke, we're back to BuzzFeeder. My false apologies. UKIP candidate Carl Benjamin has talked again about raping Labour. What the fuck are you talking about? Talked again? So firstly saying he wouldn't even rape her, so he's not talking about it. He's saying how he explicitly would not rape Labour MP Jess Phillips, which ties in very nicely, of course, to me saying earlier about shining a light on suicide campaign by the Samaritans. And you're not going to mention, at least in Manchester, your fellow Labour MP laughing at male suicide, are you? And now she wants action. She's not getting any, is she? That's the problem. If Facebook and Twitter ban these people for hate speech, how do you define hate speech? That's based on ideology. How is it they are allowed to stand for election? Phillips told BuzzFeed News. Well, because, Facebook and Twitter are private entities? I mean, they're not really private entities, considering how much they get subsidised by the government. I mean, that's the fucking problem with subsidies, that you can't say you're a private corporation if you get subsidised more than the taxes you pay. Surely. Surely not. Because the subsidies are taxpayer funded. And I said, oh, well, the government pays for it. The government doesn't pay for anything. What they do is they take your money, you taxpayers who fucking work hard to make a living, they take it, they keep a small percentage of it, maybe a large percentage of it, to pay themselves, and then give it to other people. It's like saying, oh, well, austerity measures meant that women lost more money. It's like, well, okay, well, why is that? You're saying the wealthy women couldn't draw out the money from the benefits because their husbands were earning money, and the men weren't getting money in the first place, but it was for childcare when the families were already earning enough to raise the children. So yeah, women get hit more because they shouldn't have got the money in the first place. And who was paying for them? So the man who was going to work was paying his wife and basically his child, as in, providing a household and food and finances for them. He was paying for them, and then he was also paying the government, who was then paying his wife again, and now his wife isn't getting paid by the government from his taxes. Well, fucking good! Doesn't need it. Already getting paid. It's like, well, okay. Oh, women earn 81% of what men earn in the UK. Yeah, and yet somehow they're able to spend more money. How the fuck does that work? Almost as if the men are working and then giving it to the women, and the women are spending it. Yeah, work that one out, you cunts. Right. And in case you're wondering, oh, who are you calling cunts? I'm calling cunts the people who know they're talking shit and yet wish to peddle it for their own material gain. That's what I'm calling cunts. So if you're not talking shit and you're being honest and you're just trying to let people know, you're not a cunt. How about that? But if you're being a cunt, I'm calling you a cunt. No use should be stung the cat should be allowed to run this month's European elections after new footage emerged in which he talks again about raping her. As in, oh, okay, so he says, Gamergate leader, yeah, basically saying that women should be sleeping around to get the game's better ratings. Right, yeah, great. Vengeance has been banned from Twitter. I mean, yes, twice. As in, he's been banned from Twitter. And his campaign account, which is not run by him, has been banned by Twitter. Great. But yeah, we do actually have the comments from his comedy video, as in, it was listed as comedy, and in the description it said, BuzzFeed, this is a roast, not a dick, don't take it so hard. It's easy to remember the quote when you have the pun in there, so props to you. So he says, there's been an awful lot of talk about whether I would or wouldn't rape Jess Phillips. I've been in a lot of trouble for my hardline stance of not even raping her. I suppose with enough pressure I might cave, but let's be honest, nobody's got that much beer. And he does says like that. He's laughing at the end because it's fucking ridiculous in his comedy, you know, late night style, edgy commentary. But anyway, I'm clearly fucking pissed at all this shit, and I am very much concerned of the way that Britain's turning, and I only hope that the MEP elections can turn something around, because I already see this devolving into violence very quickly. I know that Tim Pool comes on America having a civil war soon, and I already don't feel safe where I live, and I do know the laws that in the UK I'm allowed to own a sword less than 50 inches in length, even if it's a full tang blade, which means the blade goes into the handle, which means it's actually usable and doesn't just snap off, and that I have to tell an intruder to leave twice before I do anything. Yes, I know, and I've looked at the laws on assault so much because I'm fucking terrified, but I know I'm allowed to have a sword within my home. Yeah, I know. Because even last night, I woke up in the middle of the night. Okay, I woke up at 3 a.m. or I think 2:56, something like that. Outside, hearing people say death to white people and things along that line. And I'm in Manchester. I'm in an English city. Majority white for the time being. Maybe not after 2050. And of course it's terrifying. I mean, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? If you don't follow democracy, if you unironically espouse bringing in third world migrants to get your votes, what do you think's going to happen to the country? Why don't you think about the good of the country for the longevity instead of just getting power in the here and the now? I mean, what good is your money going to be if it isn't worth anything because the people who are actually creating products, the successful people who have enough money to leave, capital flight, to actually fucking piss off, and good for them, and the people who have to stick around can't get a job, or, I mean, because of quotas and England not being good to trade with because the successful, wealthy people have left due to capital flight, and that they don't want to know because they know that they're being persecuted, the indigenous people of England. I'm not trying to make this into a race thing, it's an ideological thing. But if you, whoever the people in charge are making it into a race thing, then obviously there are going to be some people who say, well, yeah, fine, we'll join your fucking identity politics, which I'm against personally, yes, of course, but there are going to be people like that who join in. And I don't condone violence except in self-defense and competition, but that does mean if somebody attacks me and I'm in fear for my life, I'm going to attack back. Just like Tommy Robinson getting attacked by milkshakes. And you might be thinking, oh, but it's only a milkshake, Jesse, what are you talking about? Well, my point is that he doesn't know what that substance is. And it seems to me as if they're trading for acid attacks, as we already know that is a popular Islamist thing. So, if I were somebody on Tommy's security team, I would carry a lot of water with me when we went around, so that as soon as somebody threw something on Tommy, I would throw the bucket of water over him. Yeah, that might be making a bad thing worse if it's just milkshake, but if it's acid, at least then the damage will be mitigated very much so. And of course Tommy's gonna attack back instinctively. I mean, who the fuck wouldn't? If somebody's just assaulted you, how do you know that they're not going to keep doing it? As far as I'm concerned, you've got to be preemptive to know that they're not going to keep attacking you. What if that person is annoyed at you, they use whatever is to hand, but they also have a weapon, and they're about to get it out? If you say, oh hey, that wasn't very nice, and just take that moment to regain your thoughts and enhance your calm, as the meme goes, then you could get stabbed. And we already know stabbing's on an increase in the UK. In fact, yeah, that Salford shooting video will be coming up next. But thanks for watching. I know it's been a long video, and it's been quite a rant, but this thing means a lot to me. And that's why. So thank you guys, and I will see you soon.